Sebastian is here to speak about the OSS Review Toolkit. And unlike some of the interviews that I've done today, I'm completely in the dark here. So tell us some about it.
Yeah, gladly. So actually the OSS Review Toolkit, or ORT for short, how we call it, it's a quite new project, so it's not a big surprise that you haven't heard of it before. So I'm working for a company called Here Technologies here in Berlin. We have offices also in Chicago and all over the world, but Berlin is one of our biggest development offices. And it's also the home of our open source office, which I'm heading in terms of everything engineering related. So the OSS Review Toolkit is a suite of tools that we developed out of our own need to review our own products for license compliance. So, of course, we did a quite broad evaluation of both commercial and open source tools that are available on the market, but none of them really did fulfill all of our needs. So we had a few quite maybe unique requirements, like, for example, the projects to analyze. You should not need to make any changes to the projects to analyze, for example. So there are a bunch of tools available that only work, for example, if you apply build system plugins. And that is not something we wanted to ask the engineering teams to do. Other tools, they, for example, only look at declared licenses as part of the metadata of package managers. And this is also not something we wanted to do. So we wanted to be able to actually locate the original source code, be able to download and scan the source code, each and every file of the transitive dependency tree, basically, for licenses and copyright statements. So that's where the ORT tool comes into place. It's we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. So we are trying to sort of create a toolkit that is the glue between existing tools as far as possible. So the first tool in the toolkit is the so-called analyzer. It works on a local checkout of the source code for the so-called primary product you want to analyze. And it determines basically crawls the file system tree for dependency files we call them definition files for package managers. So in case of Maven, for example, it would be a POM XML. In case of NPM, it would be package JSON file and so on. So we currently support about 11 package managers. And then the analyzer tries to query the build system for the transitive dependency tree and gather all the metadata it can get about the dependency, like what's the version being used, and I mean the actual version. We are not statically parsing these files. We are really sort of asking the build system itself, if possible, to give us the version. So that includes version conflict resolution and resolving version ranges, for example, and this kind of stuff, because especially in the NPM world, it's very common to not hard-code the version numbers unless you have log files, which we do support also and encourage people to use. So the analyzer gets you the full dependency tree plus metadata about source code location and everything. And then the next tool in the tool chain is the downloader. The downloader is basically an internal tool that's also being used by the scanner, which I will talk about next. And it, like the name says, simply downloads the source code from the information that was gathered by the analyzer. So the analyzer's output is a simple JSON or YAML file with all the metadata and the dependency tree. And the downloader then downloads the source code to your local hard disk. That's it. And next in the step is basically the scanner. So the scanner itself doesn't re-implement any scanning functionality. It's just a wrapper around whatever license or copyright scanner you want to use. So you could use Fossology. You could use License C, for example. License C is a very simple license scanner that is used by GitHub itself. So maybe you know this tiny header at the top of each GitHub project where you see Apache 2.0, and the tool that basically crawls the repository to get this information is called licensing. So we support this just for completeness to have some nice example how other scanners could be integrated. Then there are more scanners like Ascalono from Amazon, also a quite new project, and another scanner called LC from the same guy that is creating the search code search engine, which is also open source. So, but we chose to use a scan code from a company called NextB because we found it to be the most accurate scanner. So very few false positives, and it not only scans for license information but also copyright holders, which is important if in the end you want to create notice files, for example. So automatically create them as far as possible. So yeah, the scanner then simply calls whatever you configured to be the underlying scanner, and then on the previously downloaded source code, it simply runs the scanner. So the scanner itself could also download the source code, happens in the background, no need to call the downloader explicitly. And then it stores and caches the scan results, because scanning might take quite a long time depending on the number of files and the performance of the scanner in general and other aspects. And so you can cache these scan results, obviously. So you don't have to rescan package version X of some npm package over and over again if it appears multiple times in your own dependency tree or as a dependency for other products we're going to scan. So we have different backends for very simple remote caches, either using Artifactory, for example, as a storage backend, or S3 is also planned. And yeah, then you get another JSON or YAML output file from the scanner, which includes a summary of the license findings and the copyright holders, and also the raw output of the scanner, plus some statistics about cache misses and hits and how long the scanning took and so on. And from this, finally, you come to the reporter module. And the reporter module is able to create a bunch of reports out of the scan results. So we have, for example, static HTML as a very simple form of overview over the results. We have an Excel sheet because our legal people, they love Excel, and they can then sort by whatever column and do things in Excel as they want. And finally, we are working on the notice generator. So from the scan results, automatically create a notice file with the copyright holders and the associated licenses. So that's in a nutshell the key components of the open source review toolkit we're developing. It's open source itself, of course. It's hosted on GitHub, Apache 2 licensed, and maybe one rather unique feature, if you want to say so. It's written in Kotlin. So that's a quite new language developed by JetBrains, targeting the JVM, but also native code. So we are, in our case, targeting the JVM. But yeah, so we wanted to sort of experiment with this language also a bit, and I have to admit I like it a lot. So it turned out to be a good experiment.
You said it's a fairly young project. Are you seeing much adoption outside of your own organization?
Not yet. So we are still in the progress of starting the marketing machinery, which is also why I'm here, sort of. But we are collaborating with a bunch of industry peers, like there is the Clearly Defined initiative, which is mainly run by Microsoft, but also Amazon and Qualcomm and other companies joined there to basically fix up metadata in open source projects, because a lot of metadata is simply broken in open source projects. Either there's no declared license, or maybe the releases are not tagged in Git and this kind of stuff. And this initiative is aiming for collecting what we call curations for broken metadata. This is also a feature I haven't mentioned yet. So the analyzer in ORT is able to take these curations into account. So if you have to deal with packages that have broken metadata, you create curations once. These files, these are also simple YAML files, and they sort of augment the metadata from the package file. And then you fix once, for example, the URL to the Git repository hosting the source code in case the repository was moved and the maintainer forgot to update the URL in the package file, something like this. And this kind of curated metadata can be then later on shared with a clearly defined initiative who's then maybe filing tickets with the upstream project and the maintainer asking, hey, look, we have found your metadata to be broken, this is the fix, would you like to merge it?
If people want to get involved in the project, you said it's on GitHub. What skills are you looking for in your project for outside contributors?
Well, for some people, obviously, Kotlin might be a hurdle, but on the other hand, people familiar with Java or maybe Groovy or should have no big problems getting started with Kotlin. It should rather be an opportunity to learn the language, I believe. We are grateful for any contributions. That includes also issue reports, so it doesn't have to be a pull request in the beginning. And we are, well, maybe a bit picky when it comes to writing commit messages and this kind of stuff, because we really, enjoy and would like to have concise commit messages that provide a rationale about why you're doing what you're doing. So my favorite example is simply do not repeat in prose what is obvious from the diff, right? But give some background information about why you believe your change is good. But if it's justified, we're of course very happy to merge any contributions.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and good luck in your project.
Thank you.